Life can change in an instant. For many wheelchair users, the struggle to push forward is a daily challenge.
After years of development and countless prototypes, we created Rib Grips, the revolutionary wheelchair hand rim covers with built-in ribs for ultimate grip and comfort.
No more slick surfaces, no more heat burns, just pure, reliable grip. Rib Grips, empowering you to push forward with ease. Rib Grips, get a grip on your freedom. Discover the difference. Visit ribgrips.com and use promo code GRIP today. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
Coming up on The Payoff, if you or somebody you love is feeling hopeless because of addiction, this is the podcast episode to listen to. Anna was on track to have an unreal life. She was living in Hawaii with a wonderful husband and a kid on the way. But she couldn't stop drinking, ever, no matter what. Rehab after rehab, meeting after meeting, nothing worked until it did. Now she's the one people turn to. I know I have. Stand by for some serious hope and inspiration. But first, big bro, Kevin Souza.
Stand by the ocean floor.
By the way, I know this, but I want to just on the record. So what is your sobriety date?
Oh, February the 17th of 03.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Well, it is a long time. How many years is that?
I just got my 18-year chip last month.
I moved here probably 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And you were always in that. You've been in that meeting, and when you talk, I don't know. You always kind of get my attention.
That's good. I'll go home and I'll say I did good today because I'll watch people move up on their seat. If a few people move up on their seat, I'm like,
yeah. Well, so
when you talk, that's what happens.
So where are you from? This is cool because I know a lot about you.
Okay.
But there's a lot I don't know about you.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I guess everybody knows this is recovery.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, great. So we know each other from the meetings, and yeah, you know more about me than most of my family members, although they know a ton. You can't hide it after a while. But I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. So I'm a Tennessean, but I don't even say that. I tell people I'm from Texas because we moved from Tennessee when I was only 6. So I grew up in Texas. So I just say I was born in Tennessee.
Born in Memphis, but you grew up in Texas.
Yeah, just went to the first grade Memphis, but I grew up in Austin, Texas, second grade through some college until I left when I joined the Navy.
When did you have your first drink?
I was a late bloomer, listening to everybody else. I was a good girl, and I didn't have my first drink, and it was 3 beers. It was my senior year in high school, and it was skip day. And I asked permission from my parents to skip senior skip day. And I had 3 beers, and boy, I'm tell you what, it was a lot of fun. Great time out by the lake. Just a great time.
And this is in Austin.
Austin.
What was that first experience like for you?
Admittedly, I'm a person that just likes to have a ton of fun, and it just made it funner. It was literally just me and a big group of my friends out at the lake, and we were having a good time anyway. We were drinking beer, we were swimming, it was sunny, and it just made it better.
What year is this around?
Oh my God, now you know how old I am.
Well, because I want to ask you about, go ahead.
I graduated in 1980. We're the class that's super crazy. We're the class of 1980. Stupidest class cheer in the world, but 1980 is when I graduated.
Were you shy at all? Or you were always outgoing?
No, I was not. I was normally like a natural leader in any group that I might be in. I was in a lot of clubs at school. I was the drum major of my band. I was in, the student council, the French club, I was in a ton of stuff, and I was always loud and gregarious and funny. So, people can mistake that for leadership, I guess. You know what I mean? Especially when you're young like that, that kind of clique. The quiet ones aren't going to be the ones that, people are going to congregate around. And I was just one of those ones that had a ton of friends, I don't know why I thought I needed to have more fun. I was having a lot of fun, I guess. But I started drinking in that day, and it was nothing bad. But I don't have any really good memories until I started drinking with my lovely husband, who's not an alcoholic, I will tell you that. But we had a blast, doing lots of fun things. But I went from that fun day to a period in my life where I went off to college and I was rudderless and I knew nothing, and I started drinking more. And it was more of just, I can't cope. I don't know how to deal with life kind of deal. What I did go to parties, don't get me wrong, when I was in college. Got wasted at every one of them. But I was drinking other than, oh, I want to have a good time. I was just drinking because I literally had no clue what I was supposed to be doing. Like, I was rudderless.
Did you feel like you knew what to do when you drank?
Well, yeah, then I was just funny and loud and everybody laughed. I could tell jokes for 3 hours. I mean, literally, people they wanted to invite me to the next party. Let's just say that. Because I was one of those. I wasn't a morose drunk. I wasn't a mean drunk. I wasn't I'm going to sleep with your husband drunk. I was a partier drunk, and I happened to have a good sense of humor, I think. So it was that kind of deal. Like, let's just keep this thing going, right?
Did you have alcohol in your family? Alcoholism?
Well, yeah, everywhere. My parents were both, I would say, teetotalers. My mom and my dad. Like, maybe if they threw a party, they would buy some wine, like once in a blue moon. But we did not have it in our house because my mother's mother, died from alcoholism. Her father got cancer, but he was an alcoholic as well, and aunts and uncles. On my father's side as well, I've got one Uncle CJ. He did pass from things having to do with alcohol, ravaged body. But I had other ones. They didn't die of alcoholism necessarily, but they were alcohol. They're all over. Yeah. I happen to have two, no names, of course, two people that are very close in my family that I think could do some recovery. It would be great if they.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
I was that person for so long.
Well, me
in my
too.
Family. So you're in college and you see yourself drinking more and more. And what happens there?
Well, like I was there for 2 years before I joined the Navy, and it was.
Where'd you go to what school?
University of Texas in Austin, and I lived at Jester Dorm. My parents were, trying to get me out there, trying to get me to, experience life. And I was kind of just doing the opposite. I was kind of starting to fold in on myself. When I said the word rudderless, it's a really good word. Think about a boat just going in circles because that's kind of what I was doing. For 2 years, I felt like that. And I don't think I even told anybody, meaning I was supposed to go to college. Well, okay, I was there. But I certainly didn't know what I was doing. I certainly didn't know what I wanted to do. I was alone. My friends had gone off to other colleges, right? I told you I had a ton of friends. I did. But they kind of all went. One went to SMU. One, we didn't. I was alone. I felt alone. I wasn't alone, but I felt alone. I had a family, but I felt alone.
And it's funny, your family's right there.
Right there. Okay, this is how bad it is, right? All you want to do is leave, right? Most people are like, oh, I'm 18. I went home every weekend. I had a dorm room in the dorm. I lived in the dorm. I went to my classes most of the time.
What kind of student were you in high school?
In high school?
Yeah.
What is that? Merit scholarship? Merit? I was one of them. Not in college.
What's your heritage?
I have kind of a mutt, but we got a lot of German and we have some French and I have some Greek. My maiden name's Alexius, and that's a Greek name. So my initials are AA. God was trying to tell me 58 years ago where I was supposed to head to, but I didn't listen to him then.
Did you go to the Navy because you needed structure? And because,
I did.
Were there any consequences in college?
Well, just getting more and more depressed.
Any drugs?
No. I will tell you this. My God is good. Whatever you call him, whatever has been watching over me, because I was too scared. Like, I already knew. I had a food issue as well. I'll throw that in there for anybody that might be, there's all sorts of addictions. But anyway, I knew how bad it already was, how bad I already felt, how messed up I was feeling. And I literally did. It's not that I didn't have the opportunity, but I just knew, you know what, Anna? We got our hands full. And I don't know why, but I never would do it. I never would go there. And if I had, I don't know, I wouldn't be doing this podcast, I don't think.
I always think about that. Like, and I was lucky that my drug use actually expedited me getting sober because I ran into a wall. But I think about
I could do that.
I think about people like my dad. Like I just know I have the gene.
Yes.
The ism.
I believe
and there's
that,
there's
totally.
people in my family who never sunk their teeth into that. And they remained like functional alcoholics for their whole life.
Right.
And but anybody in my family that got involved in harder substances, they either died, went to jail, or got sober.
I don't know. That's another thing I can always be grateful for because I just, I was offered and I went to places and I just wouldn't do it. I would drink them under the table. I mean, I could chug a pitcher, but I would not.
Well, I want to go back to the eating thing real quick
Okay.
because we see that a lot in recovery. The more and more I get an opportunity to talk to women and they open up, there's a lot of women in recovery who have the food thing too. Yeah. And it's more, do you think it's a control thing?
I don't know. I really think you're just reaching for something that makes you feel better and it ends up doing the opposite. And then you're just doing it and you're in there and you're stuck. And I'll tell you about the only thing that I can really think, because I've never like literally written about it or anything, but I didn't drink when I was 13, but I certainly would eat a whole pizza. Whatever it is, whatever that need in me was, to find something to make me feel better, I had to wait a while. I mean, I guess I could have gotten liquor at 13. I've heard, people that started drinking when they were 7 or 6, But in my life, that's where I went first because I didn't have any liquor and that wasn't a thought. But boy, I tell you what, I like to eat. I like the way it tastes. I'll just eat a lot of it.
I've had somebody tell me that their first experience with like alcohol and addiction was food because of what's in food, and if you're an addict, that
food makes you feel better. It does something to the brain, just like a substance does to your brain and your body. Food does it too.
Oh yeah,
And boy, I'll tell you what, it worked. It worked.
I want to go back. So you go to the Navy. You're rudderless.
I am.
No pun intended.
I have no clue what to do, where to go, what I'm supposed to do, and nobody's telling me what to do. See, this is another thing I've learned about myself. When I said I was a good girl earlier, I was. I had lots of success from a young age until I went to college. And I'm talking about, educationally, musically, friends, socially, lots and lots and lots of success. But when I went to college and I was on my own, I no longer had people telling me exactly what to do and when to do it and how to do it. And when I look back now, was my life. Even in high school, I was, my whole schedule was filled. It was band and it was practice and it was being here at this time. And then I was a leader and I had to make sure. And then when I was done, people clapped for me. They told me what a great job I had done. And that was so ingrained in me that when it was like, okay, here's your diploma, now go to college. And then like they all went away. And
you're kind of almost like, I had the same experience with myself in athletics because going to college involved in a football program where you had to be somewhere all the time. And if you didn't show up, there was a coach that was checking your classes and you got in trouble. And the moment I got out of college, then I was without a net.
Exactly.
And everything went into overdrive.
Well, exactly. And you're getting your self-worth, you're getting your accolades, you're getting your applause.
Identity.
You're doing really good. And we'll keep doing that for the rest of our lives. It certainly doesn't work that way.
Was there an event that led to you going to the Navy?
No. It was Christmas break. I was
1982 or 3 years.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It was Christmas break at UT, and I was just so sick of feeling the way I was feeling. It was impetuous, but not. I'd always thought about police work, and I'd always thought about the military. Don't ask me why, but even when I was...
Anybody in your family?
Well, my dad was in the Korean War, but he was drafted. He didn't do any fighting or anything. He was a musician. But my mom actually joined the Marines, but she had back issues, and she was only in for like 6 weeks when they did the full medical on her. And if you knew my mom now, you'd be like, what? Like she was just as crazy as me. But it was literally like, I knew that I needed something. I didn't know what it was, but actually it was probably a pretty good choice for somebody that didn't really know what they wanted to do, because I did get the structure I needed. Now, of course, it didn't help me in the long run because I still had no coping skills. I didn't know how to live life. But in the military, they tell you, you better be there at this time. You don't leave until this time. You better look like this. You better have this on. You better do this. You're getting it. You get your shit together. Although I did a lot of partying.
Tell me about the party.
Oh, I did a ton of partying in the Navy.
When you go to the Navy, how do you find your alcoholism taking off?
Wow, I know it's different now because I've heard people, this is a long time ago. This is 1982, long time ago. And the rules were a little different. You could still smoke in the office. You poor people that are, you could still smoke in the offices, so, and I smoked, so I did, anything bad for me, but it was just a lot of partiers in the military. Just a lot of partiers. You worked hard and then you played hard. But I kind of kept it where you're supposed to keep it when I was in the Navy. Weekends, parties, at night, but I was up. I went to work. I did my job every day, and I was in the Navy for 5 years. And then I got out, and once again.
Same thing.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. I had married.
You met your husband, Kurt.
In the Navy.
And
we were drinking buddies. We had Kurt, and we're funny, and we're like not.
Kurt's the man. Kurt's from Jersey City, so that was it. That's when I decided.
Sorry, Texas. I brought him. I brought him here. I transplanted him. Now he's like us together. I mean, I don't want to like toot my own horn. We can be a lot of fun, me and Kurt, because we're not like totally quote unquote normal or PC maybe. Boy, we can make you laugh. And so we had a blast for quite a few years. But as you know, I kept going and did it when it wasn't just for laughs. And then he was like, oh, hell no, I'm not going that way. So after many years of having a blast, we started to, not personally, we've been married forever. I'm lucky. But as far as the drinking went, he saw it before I saw it, and he stopped. Like, hoping, I think, without him even knowing it, without consciously thinking, like, well, maybe if I stop, she'll slow down or she'll stop. That kind of deal. That's what I think.
It's like trying to step in front of a freight train.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Are you still having fun drinking?
I still had a blast in the Navy drinking. Like, at the last place I worked, was New Orleans the last place I worked? Yeah, sorry, my husband's sitting by me. I'm not talking to some invisible person. Yeah. The last place I worked, we went to lunch and had beers right in our building. I was stationed in New Orleans. I'm not going to say where, but there was a restaurant at the top of the building where we worked. And we'd go up and I'd drink 3 beers for lunch. I wouldn't eat a sandwich.
It was a different time.
And then I'd go back to work. I wasn't falling down. So, so I didn't have I had no consequences.
Did you feel like that time was almost, it was more conducive to an alcoholic lifestyle? For instance, you hear about that, like the business world, the martinis at lunch, the beers. Sure. I mean, if somebody pulls up to a regular restaurant now with people from work and has 3 beers, people will look at them sideways.
Oh yeah.
It was different then.
Yeah, it was way different. And nobody looked at me sideways. We were most all up there. It was different. We did our jobs. We worked hard. We did.
None of this is, by the way, an indictment on any of the structures or institutions that we worked for. This is about recovery.
Yeah, because I can say many things saved my life. And at that point, the Navy probably did have a lot to do with me, at least keeping some boundaries that I wasn't capable of keeping myself. So I have nothing but, and I did the best I could, and I did a good job when I was in the Navy. I've always done a pretty good job until,
When did you start to lose control?
I didn't know. Other people, I told you, he probably saw it before I did. And I know my mom saw it before I did. She took me to my first AA meeting when I was 18, when I just went to college and I started losing it. So
that meeting real quick, how did you receive that?
I just went because I love my mom, and she'd been going to Al-Anon. She doesn't drink, but she goes to Al-Anon. She's been going to Al-Anon for forever. And
Anna just rolled her eyes.
37 years. So I got the program even before I wanted the program. But
Al-Anon is for people that are
family members that love alcoholics.
Yeah, exactly. People that love alcoholics.
Well, you can't blame your life on the alcoholic. That's kind of the gist of that.
Okay.
Like you really can't, because that's kind of like what a lot of people that love alcoholics do. They blame all their problems and but they go in and say, wait a second, look at me, look what I'm doing. I'm acting like his mom. I need to do something different. It's for that.
So would you go to that first meeting?
Yeah, and I just went. I don't remember a lot about it, except for that I went, stayed for the whole meeting because she wanted me to, and it's like, and so I don't think I went to another AA meeting for about 20 years.
Your parents know you. My mom, God bless her. I mean, she had her eye on me from the moment I was like 8 or 9. I mean, I remember getting a beer from the basement from my dad or somebody, and I had opened it and taken a sip. Wow. She was basically like, dude, you don't understand because you've got this thing in your blood. Like for us to drink wasn't just like, hey, I'm messing around. She was like, oh, no. This is going to affect you differently. I would think back to that as I continue to progress alcoholically, like, she was right. There was a reason why I love the olives.
They can tell you everything, right? They can tell you everything. And, my mom did it the best way she knew how. And, they tell you that anything that happens to you is like something that you need to have experienced. And that was something I needed. I need to remember that even back then, she could spot it. And I was so unhappy. And she just knew. Yeah, she had to save me once because the cops called her and oh my God, we're not supposed to do drunk logs, but I will tell you the story. The reason she took me, I'll just tell you what happened.
I want to hear that stuff, yeah.
Me and a friend of mine had gone to, we were at UT, had gone to drinks, and it was happy. It was late, but they gave any girls that come until 11 free shots.
You're a pretty young girl?
Hello, yeah, I'm 18, 19 years old. So we go at like 8 because it's free shots till 11. Right, because they want the guys to come in, so they want the girls to stay. So they're giving us free drink. Well, my friend Jolene fell off the stool. I'm laughing my ass off. We're so drunk. Like 11:15, we're ready to go. And they're like trying to get us to stay. And we're like, no, we're so wasted. I got my mom's Mazda RX-7. And I drove a couple of minutes at the most. And I pulled off. I said, oh, no. Jolene, I said, I can't even see with one eye closed. So we're just and we went to sleep. Well, very shortly later, I don't know. It was very shortly later. Knock on my window, and it was the police. I had parked in front of the entrance to a drive-through beer. Those drive-through places where you just open your trunk, and they throw the beer in or whatever, and then you pay them and you drive away. I was blocking it. And the windows were up and the doors were locked and we were sleeping. And so they had called my mom because they had run the plates and it was her car. And so she came and they took Jolene to jail and they let my mom take me home.
Well, it's always funny. Those stories are funny now because we're sober.
Exactly.
And they're not like, I can remember when I was still drinking and I would tell stories like that. And the people that knew me best and cared about me were like, man, that's not funny.
Right.
Like they would, and they because they were concerned and they were fearful. I'm going to get back to you. So you start to lose control. When are some consequences that start to come into your life? You're married to Kurt. You're out of the Navy.
I got out of the Navy. He stayed in the Navy. We went to Hawaii. Yeah, tough life, right?
So you were stationed in Hawaii
after New Orleans.
For how long?
Tough life, right? We were only in Hawaii for 3 years. 3 years.
Where'd you live in Hawaii?
We lived. We had an apartment first over on the Honolulu or Waikiki side. Great, beautiful apartment that had one whole glass, like one of the walls was glass. And so, you're asking me, that's when it started going wrong. And I blame no one. Never will I blame anyone ever again for the way my life has turned out, although it's turned out great now. But at that time, my husband, the Navy took him away to Japan. I was going to the University of Hawaii and I was working, but I was alone. I'm prone to depression. And although alcohol is a depressant, I know that it doesn't matter. It just, I'm trying to feel better. Yes, I'm trying to escape. So I did. I probably started getting way out of control then. When he came back, and then it was not hideable anymore. It wasn't fun. Let's say I was drinking.
When would you start to drink? Were you hiding and stuff?
I wasn't drinking it in the morning at this time. I was drinking every night. I would go to comedy clubs. I mean, I was doing anything to try to make myself laugh or have fun. And I was just a horrible budding alcoholic, drinking alcohol.
Did you have any kids at this time?
No. Once we left Hawaii and we went to right outside of DC, Virginia is when I had my son Cole. And now I'm at home again in a new place with no friends. I mean, poor me. But that's just, I'm telling you, because I had no skills, I would go through these spurts of where I'm okay, but I'm not, because boom, something happens where life hits me and I don't know what to do.
And you're drinking, and so you're not developing as a person.
Oh, hell no.
I didn't budge from like 14 to 32. I feel like as a man.
Well, I would say 5, me. So you got to 14. Good on you. But
yeah, but that's what happened for me. And then I feel like I've grown up so much in sobriety, and and it's crazy because you do kind of make a quantum leap. I still have all the isms and all like the insecurities, but I do through this program. We talk about it. We're not representatives of AA, but we talk about meetings and stuff like that. Through this program, my life has gotten so much better, and I've grown into somewhat, people might say, of an adult. But I was so far from that when I came in, because every single problem that I had, I would pour alcohol and other substances on.
Exactly.
And so your escape is making you way worse.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not only don't I have them, I'm certainly not going to develop any skills.
And by the way, this coping skill you have, for me, I would just run around and create chaos at the time.
Well, see, good, bad, or whatever. My story is I drank for so long and had such a good time, and I got only good
accolades.
Right. Like I just, and until I was alone, and then just like, what are you doing? You're just drinking all the time.
So when do you start to drink alone, and when are you hiding it from Kurt?
When we came to Virginia, I didn't even get a job. I had Cole, my baby, so that was an excuse, like just to stay home. And I tell you this is kind of interesting too. And been to many doctors, many psychologists, blah, blah. I didn't drink when I was pregnant. The last month, like I remember specifically going to the doctor. He didn't know. And says, have a glass of wine, relax. The baby, because by this time the baby's 4, that's what he told me. So I did start drinking again before my son Cole was born, but not until, 2-3 weeks before he was born. But I started drinking again right when I thought I can drink again now. Because I found out from a doctor a long time ago, I want to hurt me. I'm hurting other people when I'm living this kind of life. I'm hurting my husband. I'm hurting my parents. I'm hurting people that I'm lying to or whatever I might be doing that's, wrong. But as far as I literally am trying to hurt myself, not specifically trying to hurt other people. So I certainly didn't want to hurt my son. That wasn't the deep, sick, whatever reason or gene, whatever's in the, that wasn't the reason. So when I was pregnant, it was like, oh no. And then, boy, I was off to the races, though.
What were the races like?
Just drinking daily again, like immediately. And I hadn't drank in 7 months or so, about 6.5 months. And then, but I was right back to drinking every single day, no matter though I had a little baby, to take care of, which I did.
And was Kurt at this point telling you, hey, I need you to chill out?
He's never been a lecturer as far as this kind of thing. He's tried everything. He's tried all sorts of things until he realized that he can't fix me. But, any family member that loves you, without knowing how,
it works.
Difficult this thing is, they're going to try to help you. They're going to try to fix you. He's a fixer. My husband's a fixer. Poor thing. He tried really, really hard. Everything from, not threats, but that kind of talk. I guess you could call it a semi-lecture. What can I do different? Like, how can I act? He was thinking all these. What can I do differently to get her to see it? And then I remember one time. This wasn't in Virginia. Is when we finally moved here because we've been in Texas for about 25 years now. But early when we got here, he's only said the word divorce to me once, and I since learned he only said it to scare me. When I say he's trying to think of anything to say. In fact, as soon as he said the word, I'm like, you're right. You need to go marry somebody else that's better. You deserve somebody better than, but he was like, whoa.
Was there an event that brought up that word?
No, just another, spent the day in bed again, like drinking, just he said something to me like, I'm not ready to not live anymore. You know, he's my husband. And I said, he goes, so, and he said that word. And I'm like, you're right. You need to leave. You need to go and find somebody that's, he didn't. What's wrong with him?
Well, at what point did you start to try to stop?
Well, I tried to stop. I thought I tried to stop many, many times in Virginia. I think my first rehab was in Virginia.
What events brought that about?
I can't quit drinking.
Yeah.
I can't quit drinking. You know, I'm a bottle smasher, meaning like I'm never going to drink again, and I'm taking my half-gallon jugs outside and I'm breaking them on the retaining wall. You know, oh my God! And then the next day it's like, oh, you idiot! You know, because I just go buy more. But I was pour it down the drain, break them against the concrete retaining wall. I'm going to quit. But I went to my first rehab, so I was still really young. I went to my first rehab in Virginia. I've been to 5 or 6.
Okay.
4 or 5. One was a loony bin. Well, not a rehab, because there was crazy people in that. I mean, I'm crazy, but like crazy people that see outer space men. Crazy people. I was crazy. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against, I'm a crazy person. Not saying anything bad against crazy people, but different than an addiction, let's say. I was actually in a loony bin once, and that was scary. But I would go. I would get the 30 days. I would go to AA. The most I ever got, and being honest, in years and years and years of going in and out, was 4 months. That's the most I ever got.
How torturous was that whole process?
That was horrible. It was, you know, I think I'm semi-intelligent, and, you know, they say that you can't be too dumb for this program, but you can certainly be too smart. And I get that now. I'm not a brainiac, but I'm not an idiot. And I just knew there was something very wrong with me. And I wanted help. I learned later I was supposed to participate. Actually, what I wanted I wanted you to fix me, right? So when I say I tried to get better, I was trying to get better. I was going to rehab. I was going to psychologists. I was going to psychiatrists. I was trying to tell the truth as much as I could. You know, you really don't, I didn't tell the full truth till I came to AA. Like, I have a sponsee. She still doesn't believe that I drank as much as I do because, you know, not big. And I could drink any guy, you know. I mean, you know, I'll match you is all I'm saying. I was very proud of the fact that I could chug an entire pitcher of beer without stopping.
That's impressive.
Well, you know, you breathe through your nose. There's tricks to it. It's not like I'm continuously drinking because, like, literally, that's really hard. I tried. But you can go and then keep drinking and never take it down from your mouth. And most people, they drink this much. I'm holding about 1.5 inches. And then they have to stop and take a breather. And I'm like, wait.
Because that's how the human body works.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I would do that and have fun. But then I would drink all day, stay in bed. See, you were asking me, when did it start going off the rails? And it really did start going off the rails at the end of Virginia. And when we moved to Texas, went to some rehabs.
So you went to one rehab. Let's get the scorecard out. You went to one in Virginia.
I went to one in Hawaii. Well, I went to many doctors in Hawaii, and I went to an intensive outpatient clinic when we lived in Hawaii.
Okay. And
they wanted to send me, and I said, "Oh, hell no, I'm not going to an inpatient." So I did an intensive outpatient. And then Virginia, I did my first, and it was food and alcohol. You know, I was a mess.
Yeah.
I'm still a mess, but
most of us are before we get
I'm
sober.
a hot mess. Okay. I'm just shoving anything in my mouth that's just gonna like, whoa. And I might have gone to 2 in Virginia. My husband's shaking his head. It might have been 3.
3.
And that's where the loony bin was. There was one little room, kind of like this room, Pete, where you had to smoke. I'm no longer in the Navy where I can smoke. And, you know, you couldn't have a lighter, of course, which I broke the rules. You know, I kept one and then got in trouble. But you got to go to a little room and then you had to wait. You had to wait till they came. You know, they got jobs. Like, they're nurses, right? And I'm like, where are you with my lighter? Because I just have to sit in I was sitting in that room with that person I was telling you about. He was scaring the crap out of me because he was talking about seeing the space people right there while I'm there. And I was just talking to him like.
It's funny because you hear people say this, like, you tell stories like that. Like, I can't believe, hey, you call Kurt, this guy's seeing spaceships. At the end of the day, you're in the group. Like, there's a reason you're there.
I'm there with him. Like, what? I'm
that
anyway,
was exactly the same way.
So then, and I went to DePaul. Okay. Like, okay, we moved here.
DePaul's a rehab in Central Texas.
My son was in the 2nd grade when we moved to Texas, right? So I'm drinking. My poor baby, toe-headed, beautiful boy. My husband would bring him to visit me at these 2-3 rehabs when we were in Virginia. The cutest little thing has no clue how screwed up his mother is, but she's gone, and he's having to do the mommy job, the daddy job, bring in the money, take care of this boy, worry about me, pay for it, and this is not the first one nor the last one, but he would bring my son up to visit me. And so we moved to Texas. He was only in the 2nd grade. I didn't quit drinking until he was 12. So what's he, 7?
And he's visiting you at rehabs.
Yes. So he's 7 when we move here. And I still I went to DePaul. And then the last one, hope to God, knock on wood, that I ever have to go to was in Buffalo Gap. And it was another food and alcohol or drug, but it was an addiction. And that was the last one that I went to. And he checked me out of there against medical advice. And I went back to AA, and I haven't had a drink since.
When you're like, because I have people in my life, and I was the same way, who are quote unquote chronic relapsers before you get sober, and their family looks at them, and why wouldn't they? It's like, oh my God, this person's hopeless, like we talked about. What message do you tell people that come after you? Because one of the beautiful things about our program is we almost suffer to serve.
Yes.
You go through, you live that nightmare, that living hell of, I'm not going to drink today. Oh, I'm drunk. And now I'm back in rehab, and now my son is visiting me. What do you tell people?
Well, what I do is I connect with them, because, when somebody comes in after a relapse, been there, know exactly how you feel. And you think you're the only one that feels like, not only are you a loser, now you're the biggest loser. There's nobody worse than you when that happens to you in your life, and you go back in. And I don't care if you had a week, a day, to walk back in there after you have done over and over and over. I can at least connect with you and tell you, you are not by yourself, because I didn't know what the hell was going on in these meetings or what the hell they were doing for years. And I still made it back. Like it was like my feet did it. I told him when he picked me up from that last place in Buffalo Gap, I know where I'm supposed to go. What is that? That wasn't me, right? I'd been there and it didn't work. But I'm going to tell you what, that was all that was in my head. That last rehab was like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be in AA. And I don't know why I said that. I have no clue to this day still why I said that.
When a new person comes in, I always feel like, and this is my stuff, I'm always like, well, let's make sure we don't talk too much about God. Because that's a lot of people come into meetings and they hear God and they run for the front door.
I did. So I can connect with you again. Okay. Before the program taught me that my problem was me, and that I'm selfish, and that I'm full of myself, and that I'm all that I think about, and that's why I'm miserable, right? I didn't know that. I had 2.5 days, and they'd start talking about God. And I felt it was my responsibility to share so that I could sweep off all those words, so that guy over there would know, oh, no, don't listen to them. All right, just come in, just listen. But I thought I had to share to negate the God stuff that had just been said, so that the new person wouldn't leave. Well, quickly got over that, but I did. I thought it was my obligation to share without using that word, because I know now when I look back, it was an excuse and it was a manipulation and it was a reason for me to leave.
Totally.
Right? That's too scary. I don't even know what you're talking about. God doesn't love me, or he would have helped me a long time ago. I begged him to help me. So whatever it was, whatever's going on in there. Oh, they're talking about God. I'm out of here. I am gone. I tried church. I went down for a laying of the hands, for God's sake, Pete. And I'm not a churchgoer. In this city, I went to and they were like, come down if you're sad. And I'm bawling, and I go down there, and that guy preaches over me and does that stuff you see. Like, I was thinking he was going to pull a snake out or something. That kind of thing you see on TV, like a revival kind of deal. And it wasn't a revival. It was actually in a church laying hands on me to try to get, and I'm like, well, that didn't work.
I think being a born again is terrific if you're buying into the religion and not if you're trying to save yourself from alcoholism. Right. I was dating a girl once, and she was born again, and God was my problem. And I remember I did like a thing where like I was born again. I mean, I'm a drunk.
Oh, I would love to have seen that.
Not many people know that story. I'm a drunk. That's what I am. And God is in my life now, but I had to turn my will over first and admit that I was a drunk and I had no power before I could go down any religious road. And I think that I mentioned that to you because I always appreciate how you connect with people that come in for the first time, and you're like, whoa, just you don't have to commit and
oh no,
yeah,
no. In fact, that's the beauty of this thing. When you're in that spot and you are an alcoholic and you don't know what's wrong with you, why you can't stop, if you're crazy, you've tried everything you can think of, you're miserable, you're doing the same thing every day. When you come into AA, you don't know. You can barely put a sentence together. So I'm not going to sit there and tell you, okay, now you need to turn your will and your life over to the care of God. And no. When people first come in there, I want them to know, just sit down, right? Sit down, breathe, right? We're all in here because we know how you feel. We're not lying. And this is where you're supposed to be. And you're going to get some relief. Just sit down and relax and listen for a little bit, right? That's all you have to do at the beginning. You don't, that's it. Once a day. You can come in here and be miserable with us. I love saying that. I hope I don't oversay it, but I'll say it all the time when there's a newcomer. You know exactly how your day's going to go. You've been doing it for a long, long time, or you wouldn't be in here, right? You know the misery, you know the routine, you know the stuckness, you know the blackness. 1 hour a day, come in here and just experience all that stuff with us, right? Don't do anything. Don't read anything. Don't write anything. You don't have to pray. Just come in here and be miserable with us for a while, but listen to us when we talk. And after a while, without doing much of anything at the beginning, you start getting enough relief where you're like, where has this been? Like, what's going on here? My husband asked me, what are they doing to you there? Because I'm telling you what, when I tried everything I could think of, except acupuncture. I tried everything else. I tried to get him to police me. Like, don't.
Yeah, that's always a good one.
Like, for you, they say, a good woman can make you stop drinking. Well, she have to be a really big good woman. She have to be sitting on me and she have to be real strong.
Yeah.
Because he's the best guy in the world, maybe besides you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And,
when Kurt says to you, what are they doing in there? How are you progressing as a woman and as a person?
Well, to start off answering that,
what did you do?
Well, they talk about bottoms. And so I just want to throw that out there. I guess that, God blessed me with, I literally couldn't live anymore. Somebody that I really love said, I'm going to either drink, I'm going to commit suicide, or I'm going to do this. Like, do it, right? There's a difference between what I said to somebody that's brand new and they still got their deer in the headlight look. Just let them relax for a little bit, But when you get to that place and you're as miserable, as you can stand, let's say. Most people die. Most people don't get the gift that we've gotten because, boy, I'm gonna tell you what, people can take a lot of pain before they change. But
and sometimes they don't get a chance to
exactly.
change.
No, they don't make it. So I got to where those were the three options, right? I think I was too chicken to actually kill myself. I was doing it slowly. So I decided that I didn't want to drink. I wanted to feel better without drinking, and I didn't know how to do it. Well, see, that right there is something too I didn't even know I was going to say. I have to admit, right? You have to go and you have to admit to human beings that you don't know what you're doing. You literally are a grown-up woman walking around on the planet, and you are clueless. Everything you've tried, every idea you've had has gotten you here, right? My best thoughts, my best thinking, my best promises, my use of willpower, which has nothing to do with it. But of course, at the beginning, before I learn anything, I'm going to do it. And you fail and you fail and you fail and you fail. And I couldn't live like, I couldn't do it anymore. I can't express to you, people listening to this podcast, maybe I can't express to somebody that's never experienced it, the misery that a person can get into before they kill themselves or before they finally decide they have to change. And my changing at the beginning was just what I said a minute ago. It was literally, I went back to a thing that I didn't think worked. Talk about out of ideas. I went back to AA and I just made a commitment to die at least going to AA, right? That's the best I can put it. But what happened is I just didn't leave this time, right? I'm a cutter. I'm a cut and go, right? I'm going to do something. I'm really good at it. And if it gets hard, I go do something else. Or I'm living here and I got friends while I'm losing them because I'm acting like an asshole. I'm going to move.
And that's what the program teaches you, by the way, to stick it out. I've had stuff in my life in sobriety where I stopped cutting and running, like professionally and personally with stuff. And all of a sudden, you get like halfway decent at something. And then you build your self-esteem. Alcoholism is a quick fix. Alcohol is a quick fix. Drugs are a quick fix. And I think that breeds the mentality that, okay, I need a quick fix. And it's all BS.
It's a quick fix to shut up. My problem is in my own head. Nobody, blame your parents. I did that for a while. Blame God. I did that for longer. But once you realize, it's actually good news. It doesn't sound like it, but once you get it through your skull that you're the problem, you're your own problem, you kind of can take a sigh. You can sigh and say, okay, well, that's good because I certainly can't change I can't change what they're doing or what they're saying or how they treat. All these outside forces, drugs, alcohol, food, him, but any outside thing that's of this, you'll go through all of them trying to make yourself, but until you realize the problem is you, and it's good news because then once you figure that out, you're like, okay, well, give me some instructions. Maybe I can do something about the way I think. I can't do anything about what's going on around me, but maybe if you help me, give me some ideas on how to change the way I think about the world, about life, about circumstances, about God, about whatever, then maybe I got a shot.
How did you knock all the dust off and let yourself shine again? Because it's funny, you talk about naturally as a young woman, that's how you were.
I was.
And it's such a bummer for people around you because they're like, hey, you can tap into this if you'll get sober. How did your life change?
Oh, well,
how did you knock the dust off?
Well, first off, I stopped drinking, which hadn't.
For more than 4
that
months.
was a miracle. Let's just say that for me. Then it was like I told you before, other people started noticing it before. I had to change a lot. What they tell you a lot of times when you'll go, if you do try to get into the program or go to meetings or whatever, they'll say something like, you got to throw out all your old ideas. What does that mean? They tell you stuff it sounds like Greek when you go in there. That's why I'm like, just try not to understand everything we're saying at the beginning. I wanted to be empty. I wanted to be blank, and I wanted to not be judgmental. I wanted to be open. I wanted to try to hear. I wanted to figure out what y'all were doing, right? Because I believed at this point that y'all were telling me the truth, that y'all drank like I drank, that you felt like I felt, that you were miserable as I was, and you weren't drinking. And so it like I said, the bottom, it all comes different time, and whatever your life is, a different time for different people, but it'll happen for you if you just keep that seed in your brain that the program, there's a solution to this problem that you think is unsolvable. There's a solution to this problem. I thought, and I'm smart. I told you that, right? I'll tell you again.
You are smart.
There was no solution to my problem. That's where I was when I crawled back in the last time, but I didn't have anywhere else to go. So what I decided was, and I didn't know I decided this is that I was going to stop pretending like I knew everything, right? My whole life was a fraud because I just pretended, right? At least when they cut me loose, I was pretending, and I was failing, but pretending. So I just decided that I was not going to pretend anymore. And it's actually a lot easier to be honest than you'd think, especially when you do it in the rooms where you know what you say, no matter what you say, there's somebody that's done it, thought about doing it, did it worse, got caught doing it.
There's
nothing. Like seriously, animal, vegetable, mineral, crime, embarrassing situation, anything that you've done, somebody else in there has done it, and somebody can probably top it, right? Which is a lot of fun here in those
and
drunk
sometimes
logs.
it's comforting though when they do.
No, it's very comforting because the part of this disease is you live alone in your own thoughts. There's something in our literature that says the isolation, the loneliness that an addict can feel, few men experience. Few other quote unquote normal people ever experience the loneliness. I'm talking about disconnect from every living and non-living entity or power or energy that might be out there. I don't know, whatever you want to call that thing. I don't have to call it anything. I'm not religious or a churchgoer, barring the laying of hands that one time, but I am very spiritual now. So you can call him God. You could call it, my mom calls it the light of the universe because it's all positive. Light is a positive thing. Dark is, where I lived. I don't have a problem calling him God because that's easy. Yeah. It's just convenient for me. What I've kind of looked at it, you define your own. That's the beauty, another beauty of this thing. Nobody's going to tell me what it is that's helping me because something helped me. You get to that point where you're broken and you're open, right? When you're broken, you're open. I was the person that people would talk about when I was in the room. What are we going to do with her? What do we do now? Now I'm the person people in my family call me when they're going through. My mom just picked up her 37-year Al-Anon chip. She calls me when she's having a rough time. My sister calls me. My brother calls me. These are all the people that used to talk about me because I was a lost cause.
And when you have a rough time, where do you go? You go to meetings.
I go to meetings.
I hang in there for a second. You, or your father passed away
about 2 years ago now.
And I remember because you would go into those meetings and you would share about that.
I sure would.
And you were in a rough spot and you would talk about it every day. And I mean, and your suffering right there served me when my dad died because I knew there was exactly one place to go. We watched my dad pass away on a Zoom, my family and I saw you at that meeting like an hour later.
Yes.
And
I was so proud of you.
Well, you were the reason that I was there. People like you. And it's like, because I saw you go through that before my eyes and I saw you happy again. And I thought, well, there's one place to go and I've seen it in front of me. It certainly isn't drinking. That's off the table. But I mean, it's certainly not sitting here by myself.
I've got 18 years of sobriety. You got what, 9?
Uh-huh.
This is called life. It happens. Things happen. I can deal with them now, right? My feelings aren't going to kill me. My feelings, I've learned that my feelings aren't, I think they are. I think I'm going to die right there. I think I'm going to explode when something like that happens. But I'll tell you what, you said, we get this. I got it from somebody else. You got it. You say, Okay, I heard a tape once years ago, and a lady was talking, and she was married to a man that was much older than her, and she had a sponsor, and she would talk to her sponsor all the time, and her sponsor would, after a while, after they got to know, she would say, "What are you going to do?" Odds are when Larry, right? What are you going to do when Larry passes away? But she would, every once in a while, she'd say, "What are you going to do when Larry passes away?" And then she made her, "I want you to write down 3 things that you're going to do, or not, maybe 5. 3 things you're going to do or you're not going to do when Larry passes away," right? Well, sure enough, year later, right? Her husband, Larry, passed away. She was like, grief. Grief is all consuming sometimes. And she was grief stricken. Well, what she'd written down on what her sponsor had made her write down was, "I will go to a meeting every day. I will not get rid of any any people that I'm helping. I will not move," meaning like, I'm not going to relocate, go to a place I don't know anybody, and she said her feet automatically, she got that list out, and that's all she did, right? She had years of sobriety, but at this point, when she was engulfed in grief because her husband had died and they'd been together, she literally would look at that list, and that's all she did. She would wake up, she would put on clothes, her feet, she'd say they were on automatic.
Yeah,
automatic pilot.
I tell people I have smart
right.
feet.
They would take her to a meeting, and she would sit there, kind of like a newcomer, just sitting there not drinking, right? And then she'd go home, and then she'd take phone calls because she had people that were helping her.
Oh,
and
man.
she stayed
She was
consistent
sponsoring
and constant. She didn't feel good. She didn't quit going to AA or move and relapse. She just looked at her little list. And see, the beauty about this thing is, and I said it earlier, I said you can't be too stupid, but you can be too smart. The beauty of this thing is once you get all your shit out of the way, all of your advice and all your brilliancy, and it's a simple thing, really. It's just a simple thing. It's actually a room, lots of rooms, where people go in there and do, I think, what humans are supposed to be doing, and maybe they don't do it so much out of the rooms. We just are together. Like, you made me feel like, oh, you came in every day, you talked about your dad. I'm like, oh, crap. It's not therapy. And I only talk to my 3 minutes. I don't, you go in there to get your crap out quickly, but it's all solution.
Sure.
Nobody goes in there and listens to me talk about my dad dying for an hour.
No.
It's just, I go in there and I say, this is the most overwhelming thing I've ever experienced in my life. I got siblings are crying constantly around me. There's attorneys I'm like, I saw his death. I go to a meeting, right? Yeah. And I say, this sucks. And I'm sad and I cry. And then I listen for 50 minutes. My power is positivity. For 50 minutes, then I listen to people tell me how you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right? You are feeling this way, and you're supposed to feel this way. Your dad died. So come in here and feel horrible, and we're going to get you through this. And it's people helping people that they all have the same fatal problem without help. And we're just there, warts and all. I can tell you how shitty I'm feeling. I can tell you. They'll give you practical advice. They'll give you shoulders. They'll give you ears.
They'll give you experience.
They'll give you experience and hope. That's what you'll get. You'll get hope.
We got to wrap up because of time.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I just am very, I was joking when I walked in. I said I was very humbled and honored that, I just want to help anybody that, if I've said anything that, I didn't want to go to AA. Come on. I didn't want to go. Who wants to go to AA? Right? I thought it was the end of my life. And you know what? Shoot. The way you're feeling now, if you're feeling that way, the way you're living now, if you're living that way, the way what we're talking about, try it. Your misery can be returned. They tell you that too when you first assholes. Yeah. You can go back out tomorrow. The liquor stores will still be open. Your buddies will still be drinking. Nobody's going to take away the alcohol. You don't have to live that way anymore. And I didn't know that for so many years, and I know it now. So if I can help one person, I just want you to know that I appreciate you asking me on.
Yeah. We're happy you're here. I'm happy you're here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for asking
Thanks,
me.
You got it.
I love you, Pete.
Right, love you too. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to The Payoff with Pete. Once again, I'm Pete Souza. And of course, we are part of the Rogue Media Network. All kinds of good podcasts you can find at roguemedianetwork.com. And of course, you can find this podcast and all those other ones wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, other spots like that.
This has been Rogue Media Network Podcast.
Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.